Są te 3 platformy, które streamują wszystkie wydarzenia festiwalu Audio Art. To, co w tej chwili słyszymy, już jest również transmisją na żywo, także serdecznie Państwa witam. Mamy kolejny dzień festiwalu Audio Art, 28. edycji festiwalu Audio Art. No i jak Państwo wiecie, albo jesteśmy gdzieś w sieci, nie bardzo wiadomo gdzie, i jak włączę teraz kamerę, no to Państwo będziecie zgadywać, gdzie ja jestem, a za chwileczkę będziemy zgadywać, gdzie jest Ania Karpowicz. No i to są bardzo ciekawe sytuacje, bo możemy być w dowolnym miejscu, ale tak naprawdę, jeżeli przekręcę swój komputer pod kątem, no to możecie się Państwo tylko domyślić, gdzie jesteśmy w tej chwili. Witam serdecznie moich studentów, którzy właśnie powinni być z nami i w zasadzie byłoby to ciekawe, gdybyśmy tak zwane hybrydowe
jesteśmy
uruchomili dzisiaj, ale ja się trzymam dość konsekwentnie zasady i wiem, że ona jest najbezpieczniejszą zasadą, to znaczy jeżeli możemy prowadzić zajęcia online, to tak jest najlepiej. Good morning, 12 p.m. is still good morning. Good morning everybody, we are online already with beautiful sounds, extra sounds, the noisy sounds are our favorite sounds. We are running the series of presentations on Audio Art conference. We have a significant performer and a really important part of the contemporary music scene in Poland, the co-founder of Hashtag Ensemble, collaborator of many international projects. Currently, Ania Karpowicz is living in Tel Aviv, but moving back and forth, you know, flying no matter whether pandemic is higher or lower. She is still protected and quite strong against the avalanche which is moving around our world. So we have a great occasion, great opportunity to get more details about her TOVA project, which is the special repertoire for flute and electronics. So we can get more details, more secrets, more information which are behind the program. Usually the program is in front of us, but in fact quite interesting, especially for the students of our group, composers, young composers and students of theory of music. It's quite get the direct contact. So, you know, we have the direct contact because we are sharing the same space. We are in the distance of 2.5 meters, so quite safe. In fact, we dream to get you here, but in fact, we are here already for a short moment. So Ania Karpowicz is with us, and we want to know more about her. We want to know more about what is she doing and what is this TOVA project in details. Mm-hmm. Ania, your turn.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be able to talk to you all. And I'm really looking forward to any of your questions or to meet your curiosity about what I'm going to talk about. My name is Ania Karpowicz. I play the flute. And I'm absolutely not in any kind of connection with the academic world. So to me, the word lecture is very much inappropriate to what I'm going to say. It's surely not going to be a lecture. In fact, I'm very much against any kind of uneven balance in cooperation. And I believe very strongly that creativity is only possible to be developed in real partnership. So I'm not going to lecture anybody on what I'm doing. The only thing I can do is I can share my personal experience. And my experience is very narrow, very small. And it's also what I'm going to say, I'm speaking for myself from my point of view. I'm not aiming to categorize, for example, the flute performance. Each flutist can make their own research and their own approach to the flute sound, to its meaning and everything. And I'm only hoping that maybe some things I say are going to help you in your work and in your search for your own voice in the world of music. I was thinking about the lecture, like the very serious word, and I was looking for some kind of structure, some kind of idea that would lead us through the TOVA project. And completely by accident, I found the manifesto for contemporary sonic practice written by Kat Hope and Louise Devenish from Australia. It was posted by Bettina Wackernagel, great curator of Heroines of Sound Festival. The festival I can really very much recommend to you to follow. And this manifesto resonated with me very much. If my job was a religion, these would be my commandments. So maybe I'm going to share my screen with you so you could see it. Mm-hmm. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So maybe I'm going to read it a little bit. There are facts like creativity is a team pursuit. Sound creation has unlimited forms. Extended technique is just technique. Listening is an active and situated practice. Notation is over. And to each of the facts, you have some of the manifesto statements, which are, all of them are very interesting to try to relate to. If you are a composer or even just a listener, I think it's very, very useful.
Short question. Can you zoom a little bit? You have the plus minus icons. Okay, that's better.
Yeah,
because now we can see more detail. The fonts were a little bit too small.
Too small. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to talk about each of the pieces of the TOVA recital, referring to the manifesto. So the first point, the creativity is a team pursuit, and the new virtuosity is built by communities of artists and rejects the single author method. It tells a lot about the TOVA project. TOVA project was created by a community of artists consisting of me and 4 female composers, Ola Kaca, Marta Śniady, Nina Fukuoka, and Teoniki Rożynek, as well as brilliant sound designer Michał Bereza, and also brilliant visual arts artist Karol Yamazaki. But not only the community consists of artists who were involved in the process. The process can always start in relation to somebody and in relation to some phenomenons that you want to touch and with inspiration. So there are 2 people also involved in this. One is Georg Friedrich Haas, the Austrian composer, who was kind enough to invite me to Columbia University for a presentation. And this fact, his encouragement, drove me to dare and to make the TOVA project happen. And the other person is Krzysztof Pietraszewski, who took the project to the Sacrum Profanum Festival program. And it is very important when we are talking about the community to see that the community is not only consisting of artists themselves, but also it's always all the projects are built in relation and in creative relation to other people. Sound creation has unlimited forms. And from this fact, the statement that touches the most the TOVA project is that the new virtuosity disregards the electronic acoustic binary. It means a lot to me. In fact, after my TOVA project premiere, I heard a lot of voices which were exactly referring to this relation of the flute and electronics, as if it were two separate beings. And in this aesthetics that you have a flute sound, like the live flute sound, and the electronics. The problem with TOVA is that if you record the flute sound in the studio, it becomes a tape. So it becomes a sound material which you can recreate and touch again and again. And in the very beginning of the work with TOVA, we were pretty sure we don't want to put the fake concert situation into the internet. So we are not going to record the acoustic flute sound and put it to the internet to make this fake concert situation. We knew that in pandemic times, TOVA Project was going to have its premiere only in stream platforms and on YouTube or on Sacrum Profanum channels. So we knew from the very beginning that it is going to be a cyber flute recital. So the whole work was meant to be to combine and to integrate and to create a synergy so that the flute and electronics would not be recognizable as separate beings, just as one. And so I'm gonna maybe go to the first piece. First piece is by Marta Śniady, and its title is 4 Rituals of Women's Happiness. That was the first piece where I had to face the reality of transferring the flute sound into the virtual world. And there were many decisions to be made about it, from the strategies in the studio through the post-production to the final effect. And I was sure that the flute sound makeable in the studio would sound a little bit small in the internet reality. And we were also aware with the sound engineer and sound designer Michał Bereza that also the listeners who will listen to the music on their earphones, through their laptops, through Facebook, would have their needs. It's not a music put on brilliant sound equipment. It's music that you will hear on your earphones on the laptop. And that was the beginning point of the journey. So I would like to present to you just the beginning of Marta's piece to let you know the difference between the studio or the fake concert flute sound and the cyber sound that we achieved in the end. So the first bars of the piece consist of extended techniques on flute, which is a consofio and tongue drum, and it sounds like this. These sounds are very appealing in the concert situation, especially when the flute is amplified and when the whole is responding nicely. It really makes a really good impression. But as you could perfectly hear through Zoom, in the internet space, it doesn't do its work. It just doesn't work. So let's hear what happened and how Michał Bereza designed it for internet. So you had the first two interventions. As you could hear, we tried to make the sound much more panoramic, and we wanted the sound to be much more convincing. The general approach with TOVA was to skip the obvious. It's very obvious with flute that you always hear the air. That's what the flute is about. So we were aiming to reduce the feel of bright sound, all the birdie references you would have listening to the flute. And we were trying to find in the sound, in the extended techniques, everything that feels to us less obvious. So let's listen for a minute. As you could hear, there was a jet played on flute, and we tried to make it sound as dark and as rich as possible. And also in the studio, I was very much aware of the effects we want to get. And from the very beginning, I was trying to look for the dark side of the flute and the rich sound of the flute from the very beginning, never mind the post-production process. So in the piece of Marta, it's the only piece that has tape. And the flute. And in the tape, her inspiration comes from popular music and a little bit from techno music. So our sound designer, Michał Bereza, put just for himself a little bit of techno music, just to listen to it, to listen to its bases, and to be able to recreate the kind of sound design you do. And especially what was really significant in this process, that he was trying to enrich the flute sound in the way that usually in techno music you do to the vocal. You can hear some of these references, especially in the end of the piece. So let's listen. Okay, so this is what I wanted to say about Marta Śniady's piece. So I think we can try to see a little bit of the video and just a few words about the audio-video relation. In each of the pieces, it's completely different and completely different approach in the work of each of the composers. Marta Śniady is a master of audio-video work, and she has her own approach. And the video shots are kind of reflections of certain musical interventions. And so it happens that by the end of the piece, you have like a kaleidoscope of shots, which reflects the kaleidoscope of techniques used in the piece. So I see that I talk too much, so maybe let's see. Just a tiny little bit of it. So you could hear and observe how the piece evolves and how each coming shot is kind of interpretation of each musical gesture. And it's quite fascinating to see how it intensifies through the time, and it's very easy to follow also, I think. So in this meaning, it's quite appealing to watch.
Quite appealing.
The second piece is by Nina Fukuoka, and it's called Zansei. It means in Japanese, last years. And Nina interprets this term as last years that you want to live in peace with yourself, in peace with your real self. So the piece is mostly about our hidden and mysterious identity. As I said, Marta Śniady's piece is the only piece with tape. 3 remaining pieces are for flute, and the electronic sounds, if you must have this distinction, are all taken from flute. There are really tiny little bits of illustrative sounds, like the drops of falling water, or the sound of burning fire, of a fire burning, or in Teoniki Rożynek's piece, some steps approaching, but the whole material of the piece is flute itself, and aiming to look for the dark side of flute and to reject the obvious and reduce the air sounds as much as possible. It becomes very often not easy to recognize, even for flutists. Like you hear the sounds and you're not aware of the fact that it's the flute playing. And also all the parts where you can hear some singing or where you can hear the text, it's all made with the color of instrument, and it really changes a lot. I can show you, just for the sake of Nina's piece, there is a wonderful witchcraft text. For example, the light of protection I carry is strong. Try to say this text into the flute, and you will see how complicated and how challenging it becomes.
The light of protection I carry is strong.
To be able to pronounce the text into the flute, I have to balance very well the text itself with some kind of interpretation. If I would like to pronounce the text, so to say, privately into the flute, it wouldn't work at all. So if you hear the text in TOVA recital, it's always colored by flute, and the same thing with singing. So I would like to show you just a tiny little. So that was singing to the flute with the color of flute and with sound design added afterwards. And the other thing I would like to share, just a little excerpt, is the beginning of the piece. And in the process of creating TOVA, in the work as a community, we were sharing many ideas and our personal experiences, and with great deal of openness. It's also here mentioned that the new virtuosity transfers methods across groups, instruments, workstations, places, and people. And that's exactly what happened in this project. And also we were looking for some new techniques. And I don't know if it's described in any kind of flute book or in any kind of flute blog. I never found it anywhere. But we have a technique here where I play on my throat, inhaling the air and producing the sound. And it's something new that I used for the very, very first time here in the TOVA recital, both in pieces of Nina Fukuoka and Teoniki Rożenek. And it's in the fake concert sound situation, it sounds like this. As you can perfectly hear, you can design the sound both scale-wise using the specific keys and both in microtone way when you open the keys to its halves. So that's the technique we used, and Michał Bereza in the piece by Nina Fukuoka was also trying to reach to the darkest possible sounds, because the piece is a little bit about witchcraft and a little bit about mysteries that we are having inside, and we don't think about them, and we are not aware of our complex identity. I'm so sorry. Yeah. You can hear the technique I just showed you. What Michał did with this was he has designed it in an octave. So you hear the technique itself, as well as a slight, very subtle lower octave of the same sound, which makes the feeling more dark and more scary.
This light of protection I carry is strong.
And you could hear the text spoken to the flute with specific fingering techniques. It's not just talking to the microphone, it's always in relation to the instrument and using its possibilities.
No ill wishes or trouble can now come along.
So I think we're ready to see some part of the video, maybe not the whole piece, but maybe just an excerpt. And also here, the relation between audio and video is different. So in Marta Śniady's piece, we had this exact reference between sound and video. And the form of the sound was defining the form of the video. Here we have a different approach. Because the piece is about hidden identity, Nina wanted also video to be very mysterious and not simply referring to the sound aesthetics. Of course, there are chapters in this piece. It's very easy to follow and to observe where the chapter ends and the next begins. But within the chapters, Nina uses a lot of her ways, like inversions or hidden tracks, or any kind of playing with your conscious and unconscious listening and conscious and unconscious watching. So let us see.
This night of protection I carry is strong.
Zaczynamy się zachwycić.
No ill wishes or trouble can now come below. You cannot harm me or weaken
So this was Nina Fukuoka's piece. If you have time later on, you're very much invited to see the end of it and what is the conclusion of her search. Talking about community of artists creating the project, and that there are no solo projects, and especially not in the new music field. The wonderful visual artist who was involved in the Zansei piece is Izumi Yoshida, and she was in charge of the video in the piece. Maybe you could hear in the two chapters we were listening together to, that in the second one you could hear water drops, and in the third chapter the theme was the fire. And I really like the way Nina combined the sound of flute keys with the pops of fire that you can hear when you sit by the fireplace. So that was Zansei. And the third piece in the program is Aleksandra Kaca's Inner. It's completely different approach. And here I must say that in the very beginning the work with TOVA, and knowing that we are going to create the cyber flute recital, I was a little bit afraid of becoming a fluty Bobby McFerrin. If you know the song, Don't Worry, Be Happy, that everybody would be fed up with the flute after first 10 minutes. And how many different extended techniques can you use for them not to sound the same, or not to be just the same gestures repeated for 1,000 times. And I was really shocked how all of the composers had completely different approach, different experience, and different use of the extended techniques. I say extended techniques, but I only do it because of the tradition. I don't believe in extended techniques anymore. We went through creativity as a team pursuit. We went through the fact that sound creation for me has unlimited forms, and you shouldn't just divide it between acoustic and electronic sounds. And the third fact is that extended technique is just technique. And it is an infinitely evolving network of ideas and articulations that are all equal. And the only goal you have is to be very certain of the way you want to use them and what they are about, what they are to speak about. So in Aleksandra Kaca's Inner, the philosophy is the philosophy of layers. In this piece, there are moments where you have 18 layers, 18 flute sounds combined together to create a synergetic sound cloud, nomen omen, to express the composer's intentions. I admire Ola Kaca very much because she practically did everything by herself, and Michał Bereza's role in this piece was really like just an assisting role. Ola was very certain of what colors she wants to have, and she was also very engaged in the process. In fact, she has lent a flute and played the flute for herself, which I have a deep respect for. If you want to listen and just have a glimpse of 18 flute layers put together, it sounds a little bit like this. What makes it special and interesting to me is that Ola Kaca chose for the piece some kind of tonal center, and it made it possible to perform in many different ways and to try many different techniques. But because of the tonal center, you could really have this final effect of synergy, and also playing with listeners' perception. I am very much sure, and I also heard it about after the premiere of the project, that very often you skip 17 layers and focus mostly on the one layer where you can really relate to the classical or most traditional flute sound. But it's very interesting, and I think it's helping to just open and try to listen to the piece as a whole, not trying to make any distinctions. In the piece of Ola Kaca, in Inner, because the body is the topic of the piece, there is a text, a very nice one, written by Ola herself. And the text says that each of our bodies, every body is a living map. And coming from this idea of a living map, she was putting the layers of the flute sound and then the layers in the visual form. But before we see the video, I would like you just to listen to the text. And also it's very interesting how she integrated the text with the music. So very often you can't also make the distinction between what is played or performed and what is spoken.
Against the body and against its nature. Trying to stop the passing of time, overly caring about the outside, we often forget that the most important, purest beauty should be sought inside.
New technique I never used before was using text with the keys together. It was quite challenging, and I had to practice a lot to find the exact accents in the specific word, with the keys. And when we made recordings, it was possible then to make some sound design on it. The other thing is that all of these flute parts were really challenging and really complicated for me to learn. Sometimes maybe you have the impression that I only had to do some tongrams or some jets, and the composer just multiplied them times 1,000 and created pieces out of it. But it's completely wrong. It was just the opposite direction. I had to perform all the piece with the exact approach, knowing what kind of sound design is foreseen for each part. So we had in Marta Śniadys, as you remember, the kaleidoscope of shots. In Nina Fukuoka's piece, we had chapters with a high aim on hiding the topic than showing it. And now we have two most illustrative videos. The first one by Ola Kaca, The Inner. She drew the form out of the music. So if the music consists of layers of the flute, just like in a birthday cake, up to 18, she did exactly the same with the video. It was also a very important process for me because the piece is about body, and we made shots of my body, which is very, very much destroyed by 3 pregnancies that I went through. I didn't even know. I thought most like I dealt with this subject in my life. But doing the shots with Ola and Karolina Sałajczyk, I just realized how it still touches me and how I still am not in peace with what happened. So Ola had this brilliant idea to use my body as a map and to put on this map other maps. In fact, she had a residency in Iceland. She used the Icelandic landscapes and made layers also in the visual part. So, and the form of video is very much illustrative to the music. So that was a small part of the piece by Ola Kaca. And the last piece in TOVA recital is Teoniki Rożenek's Scream. To be honest, beginning this work over a year ago, I had no idea the project would have its premiere on the day of the biggest strike in Poland, led by women, and the first time in post-Soviet times in Poland when you could see thousands of women screaming. And so it just very surprisingly happened that Teoniki from the very beginning knew that she is going to touch the topic of scream. As you can see in the whole program, mostly the questions about our identity were answered with other questions. Questions about rituals, about our hidden identity, about how we approach, what approach do we have to our own bodies. And the last one is about screaming, another thing that is completely forbidden and unacceptable with women. And Teoniki, as the only composer, she took a real narrative path, like almost like in classical or even film music, but meant in a very good way. And also the video is just like a short film, so it tells a story from the beginning until the end. And it is a story about the hidden scream, the silent scream. If you can't let your emotions go, they turn inside and make even more damage. So here in the sound design, you will hear, as I said, because if it's so illustrative and it's so narrative, you have also a sound design, which includes steps approaching and steps going away, also a little bit of a city soundscape, and the piece itself. So as you could hear in this piece, my main my character's job was to get suffocated. And that's the atmosphere we wanted to create. So now, not to talk too long, I would like to show you. I'm so sorry, can't find it somehow. Okay. I want to show you just a tiny little bit of the video. So this is the piece by Toni Kirożynek. If you would like to see it all with good earphones, it's available on YouTube. And about the new virtuosity, we went through almost all the points. Listening is an active and situated practice. It's very important that the performer is the first listener, and the approach the performer has to the piece defines the piece very much, and especially in the new music field. So for me, as a listener and taking listener as the most important element and in the end of the creative process. It was very important to us to create sound values that are appealing to the listener, and the listener's attention and the dynamics and the dramaturgy of listening was very, very important. And to me, as the first listener, it was very important to have my own and first response and my influence on both sound effects, colors, and dynamics in the piece. And this primary act of listening by the performer, to me, is defining for every piece of music, disregarding the style or the time period, if it's classical music or new music. So it's about listening. And the last fact from the manifesto is notation is not over. And one of the statements is the new virtuosity engages notation that serves sound, not analysis. And it's really funny that in TOVA projects, I don't have the scores of the two pieces. They are just about to be written down. So the score is about to lead the performer through the process, and it's not the starting point. And it's very important, I think, especially for young composers who often think that the score is the beginning and the score is the image of the idea of the piece, and that it's needed or even necessary to begin the process. So I think it's not anymore. You have much more freedom than you think. So.
Okay, I'm just writing on a chat. I will appear together with Ania. Okay, I'm in a more dark part of the, not of the moon, but the dark part of the studio. So I can check to open the window, but I think that it is better now. So I send a message to my students on chat already. They are all muted with their microphones, but this is a great opportunity to put some questions to Ania. Since some of you are young composers, and this is extremely important to get the direct contact with the performer. That's one of the basic model now in the contemporary music techniques, that they are getting commissioned works. So in fact, the commission means that there is a cooperation and collaboration with the performer, between the composer and the performer. And in certain moment, we are touching a very important point, that in fact, all inventions, all what we call, I would like also to discuss about this kind so-called extended techniques. They are immanent part of the very individual style of the performer. So in fact, we are following the composer, following the performances of other pieces, and then they, oh, that's interesting, you know, and then we check on the scores, how it is notated, what it is about, what the sound it comes from, and how it is available, how it's what kind of techniques we have to use. So this is in fact essential part of the collaboration and cooperation in a wide sense, but also in a very, very much personal and direct style. So in fact, you have Ania in studio, the venue of our lectures. Even that you are on remote, you can check and ask her if you are ready. Christian, I know some of you are already quite successful with several pieces, so that would be a point. I mute myself, and let's check how does it work. You have to unmute your microphones. Belarus. Voilà. I see that he only unplug, switch on the microphone. Okay.
You can also contact me individually afterwards. I didn't have much time to talk specifically on sound design. I wanted, but the time was too short. And it's if it would be any help to you, you can always contact me also individually.
So if not the question of my students, I would like to extend a little bit. This is a very small topic called
Boję się trochę
technique.
pytać.
Extended technique. So in fact, you know, I put the question directly to Ania because she's close to me, but we are using in fact also a Zoom. So you are watching and you are following us, even that we look like in different locations. I can turn my computer once more again to show Ania here. So Ania is with us also here and with me quite close. So yes, you mentioned that you don't like to use the term extended technique because they are part of the natural environment, natural for certain instruments. And we know that those techniques means different a little bit for voice, for example, and it's a little bit different for instrument. Somebody is calling me, so I will pick that one, but please ask me whether this is really the same story with voice, piano, flute, or that's also natural. Oh, I didn't pick up. Okay.
But what do you mean exactly? Like if the search for the extended techniques is the dynamics of the search is
let's say we have a string quartet by Penderecki in early 60s, and he is extending the regular bowing and pizzicato techniques to striking the body of the instrument. So this was one of many different elements of the sonoristic times, of course. But for certain perspective in time, in a historical period, there are some inventions. So you know, the cluster technique was not invented in 60s. It was invented much more earlier, and in the beginning of 20th century was already used by certain pieces. So just tell me, and in a moment I will pick up the key from the city apartment downstairs and be back in a moment.
What kind of question I can ask? Any kind of question you can ask. So the extended techniques on flute are pretty much researched and documented, and they are very easily available. You have the book I use mostly is Robert Dick's The Other Flute. There you have all the possible multiphonics and glissandi, and all the basic so-called extended techniques are very well documented there, including the range of dynamics you can achieve using certain microtones or multiphones or other stuff. How did I start to work in this genre? What music piece was the first one? I think the first challenging piece that demanded from me to open, because of course the frullati or easy multiphones I had to play when I was studying at the Music Academy in Detmold. But the first piece which was really challenging to me and made me open, because it's also a psychological process of your relation to your instrument, like you give yourself the freedom to look for other sounds. And I think the first piece was by Zosia Dovgiało, a very long time ago. I'm embarrassed to say how long ago it was, because it would say how old I am. But it was a long time ago. And it was a piece consisting only of so-called extended techniques in a quite challenging way. So I had to study a lot, and it made me really open to the process of research.
Well,
I don't know if it's a good answer.
The question is, can you recommend books? This about extended techniques.
Yes, of course. I can write it down. It's called the book I use the most. There are a few, but I recommend the most The Other Flute by Robert Dick.
Okay, I have it. I have it personally from,
it's classical.
From 87.
Yes, exactly. It's a classical position.
Our first meeting.
All the basic techniques you have there. And I would encourage very much to get to know the flutist you work with, or any kind of performer you work with, because they also can come with their own ideas and just give you many opportunities you wouldn't think of just sitting by the desk or listening to some pieces for these instruments.
Can I ask some questions about flute techniques?
Sure.
I have one because when I writing on flute, ones bother me often, and I want to ask about pitches which are the best to use key clicks.
Oh, this is a very good question, actually. It depends on the effect you want to achieve, but basically, if you want to have a strong sound and a strong indicated pitch, the safest way to write it down is in the first octave. So you have C. So from the C1 to C2, it's really easy. To execute this. The often mistake by composers is that they want me to have a key click of, for example, E in the second octave. It's impossible because the fingering is meant for the lower octave. But also I encourage you very much, and I use this in TOVA a lot, to use open keys. Then you have the pitch of the key clapping not referring to the classical scale. So you can achieve a different range of multiphonic sounds. And it's also more impressionistic in for the listener. It's more undefined and appealing.
Okay, thank you. And another one, if I want to play some kind of tremolando of 2 key clicks, so I have to choose 2 pitches on first octave, yeah? But maybe some 2 are more you prefer to choose 2 pitches, I don't know.
If you want to have like tremolando between pitches, it's makeable if you do it in the first octave, and then it's kind of like if you indicate this, the performer has to figure it out for themselves, which keys they will hold and which keys they will open to make the key sound. For example, E, I don't know, G.
Okay.
Whatever, yeah. So it's just a matter of execution, and the interesting part, and not the part where you feel you're never gonna get old or bored, is that with every single piece you have to learn from the very beginning.
Okay, thank you so much.
Not boring. Oh.
So
I have some questions. Do you also get inspiration from old treaties? Oh,
techniques. Once. That's very specialized question.
To be honest, yes, a lot. And this idea of the flute sound dark and rich, and with reduced volume of air that you can hear, actually comes from 19th century pieces. And actually, I even got myself this year a wooden flute. Unfortunately, I'm too busy with finishing my projects for this year to start working with it. I just gonna start maybe in December. And it is fascinating because all of these pieces were written for a wooden flute, which has completely different sound and completely different sound values. So this, so to say, stereotype of a flute, like the airy, birdy instrument, it refers only to the flutes that we play now, so like the silver ones or golden ones. And it's very nice, exactly, to go back in time and look for the identity of the sound earlier.
Well, you should remember that Ania will play the concert tomorrow with Zofia Dogiało. The two pieces of Zofia will be performed, also other pieces, including Wojciech Ziemowicz piece. So please join the concert. Tomorrow we start at 6 o'clock. As it is in a program, physically the concert is streamed live from the concert hall at the Academy of Music. But unfortunately, you are not allowed to visit the space.
But it's fun because it's real life and not a fake life. Like now you have all these premiere transmissions of concerts recorded previously and streamed. So tomorrow we really are going to meet you at 6 p.m.
So if you have no other questions, we are closing slowly.
You can write to me on Facebook
if
you have any other questions.
That's easy way to contact Ania, no matter where is she.
Yeah.
She's amazing, you know, traveling back and forth and you know, in fact, skipping the local problems in this way, but that's really great. I think that's one of the idea, one of the opportunity to be a little bit out of those mess which goes on now over us. And
it's very nice what you say, but I've been in 3 quarantines and now I flew in just to spend some time with you and to play the concert. When I go back to Israel, I have to be in my 4th quarantine. So it's like 56 days of total isolation. I don't recommend it.
Yes, but it seems to be that there's no other way. Otherwise, we are just locked.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's the price. That's the price of 2020 that we have to accept.
So the message mainly to my students, please join other lectures tomorrow and Sunday. We have the same time at noon, exactly the same time. Also with the access through Zoom, direct access with the speakers, you can put directly the questions. You can follow us also online on those 3 places. I don't want to say platforms because they're not all the same platform, but YouTube, Facebook, and the website of the direct website of the studio and website of the studio of electroacoustic music as well. So thanks a lot. Thank you, Ania, very much. That was really great to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm very happy to have you here, and we start rehearsal.
Yeah,
for the concert tomorrow.
we get things done.
And please join 2 concerts on Hebrew. We start at 6 o'clock, which is also quite important. No changes. The program as it is. Okay. See you then. See you. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.